Welcome to SORMAG's Writers Café, where we share the real writer's life over a cup of friendship, sprinkled with laughter and wisdom. My name is LaShaunda Hoffman, and I'm your host. This episode is brought to you by the Produce, Publish, Promote Summit Replay. Today, sitting at the cafe with me is Shana Burton.
Yes.
I know I called okay, Shana Burton, LaShanda Henry, and Denise Turney. Welcome, ladies.
Hey, hello. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
So each of the authors are here to share with us about their writing careers, and their books. And we will be starting with Shana. Oh my
Yes.
God.
It's like Dana. It's like Dana with the essay.
Shana.
Yes.
Go for it.
Yes. Okay. Well, first of all, thank you again for having me on. I'm very excited to be participating in the podcast today. And for your listeners who are not familiar with me, my name is Shana Burton. I am the author of I just released my 10th book, actually. So it's 10 books now. I've been published traditionally for about since I think 07, 08, around that time. And I will be sharing an excerpt from my latest release, Kiss and Tell, that came out a couple of months ago. And just to kind of provide a backdrop for the story and for the excerpt that I'll be sharing today, the story centers around this couple, Alexis Wolford and Ron Carter. Alexis is new in town, and she's an entrepreneur and has just recently sold her business, and she moves into a swanky neighborhood in Bald Head Island in North Carolina, and she falls for her new neighbor, who also happens to have been her childhood TV crush. He's a former teen heartthrob type guy. So she has not only fallen for him, he's fallen for her, and they're engaged. But there are several things about Ron that she has really kind of neglected to do her homework on. And so with this particular scene, she's talking with her best friend after their engagement party. The best friend is very concerned about the relationship because Alexis has just kind of rushed into it head first without thinking about it. And she has started to, the friend, Lola, has started to uncover some things about her fiancé. All right, so do I want to go ahead and start reading it?
Yes, please.
I guess. All right. Well, that was interesting, Lola said after Alexis joined her outside on the deck to enjoy the fire pit and clean, cool ocean air once they changed their clothes after leaving the party. Alexis handed Lola a glass of champagne. Is that the only word you could think of? Lola kicked back on the chaise lounge and looked up at the thin clouds forming pinwheels in the sky. Let's see. Magical, romantic, beautiful, volatile. Alexis hooted and settled down into the plush chair across from Lola. Volatile? That's how every couple wants their engagement party to be remembered. And speaking of things remembered, she kicked off her shoes and curled into the chair. You could explain what you meant by saying you were coming here to stop me from making the biggest mistake of my life? Lola sighed. I didn't get into it earlier because your guests started to arrive. And you're probably going to get mad when I say this. Then maybe you shouldn't say it, Alexis interjected and knocked back her champagne. No, I have to because you're my friend. Lola fastened her eyes on a drink in her hand. Lex, I like Ron. I can tell that you love each other, so I understand the temptation to throw caution to the wind. But you've only been dating a couple of months. It's way too soon to be talking about getting married. Says who? Says your last few relationships. Didn't you learn anything from diving head first into a relationship with Lance? Lex, you always do this. You get so caught up in the moment that you don't think things through. Then when things implode, you're off doing the next impulsive thing. It's not like that with Ron. I feel this man in my soul, Lola. When have you ever heard me talk like that? Your soul? Lola rolled her eyes and clicked her tongue. Girl, you're lonely and the sex is good. That's no reason to marry a guy you barely know. We have 6 months before the wedding. Anything we need to know about each other will be revealed between now and then. Lola shook her head. You're being naive. Alexis stopped herself from pointing out that Lola's judgment could be clouded by jealousy. Alexis was engaged to the man of her dreams while Lola was still dreaming, hoping to find a man. She knew her friend meant well, but she learned a long time ago to be weary of advice from lonely women, never forgetting that misery loves company. Lola, Ron and I both believe that God brought us together. I have more faith in God and our love than I do in any naysayers. Lola sat up. Oh, so I'm a naysayer now? I didn't say that, and you're not the first one or the only one to tell me this. Terrence is on team too soon with you. Terrence is many things, but I wouldn't be quick to label him a naysayer or a hater. He knows wrong way better than you do. Lola, you saw him tonight. Do you seriously think that's who I'm going to take relationship cues from? Ron's parents are totally supportive of this marriage, and I trust their judgment far more than Terrence's. Maybe they're not just supportive, Lola ruminated before taking a gulp of champagne. Maybe they're relieved. Alexis furrowed her brow. What do you mean? What if Ron's parents told you about him? Alexis shrugged. They adore him. His mom said they were worried about him at some point, but she didn't get into any details. I assume it has to do with all the groupies and wilding out he did in California. Whatever it is, they're staying pretty tight-lipped about it. And that doesn't bother you? Alexis downed the champagne to have an excuse not to answer the question. Well, Lola prompted her. Lola, I don't know every single detail about Ron's past, but I know that he loves me. That's all that matters. Ron's mom helped me to see that. Are you kidding me? Lola asked incredulously. His mom was the same woman you just said was keeping secrets from you 10 seconds ago. That's because she revealed something very important to me about her relationship with Ron's father. It put things in perspective and let me know that I can't worry about who Ron was with or what he did before me. So what if he fooled around with a lot of women or made some questionable decisions when he was young and dumb? He's not that person anymore. It's easy to say that now, but what if he's keeping something from you that can impact you in the long run? You need to get to the bottom of this. Find out what Ron is hiding before it's too late. All right, so that is an excerpt from the book, and from as a reader from there, you will find out exactly what her fiance is hiding. And again, that is from my new book, Kiss and Tell, available now.
Thank you. Sounds good. Are you ready, Miss LaShaunda?
I'm here, yes.
All right. Well, can you give us an introduction of who you are, what you do, and then you can read an excerpt of your book?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Just always amazing when I get to participate in things like this with wonderful ladies in my circle. And it's an extra plus that we are both LaShaunda, right? I love that as well. I am an entrepreneurial woman, and I love to support other women entrepreneurs and teach them how to build their businesses online. I've been self-publishing content for women entrepreneurs for I'll guess for over 10 years now, because I've been doing this for a long time. One of my self-published books is called Good Morning Girl Boss, because as entrepreneurs, we all need motivation. So an excerpt, it says, hey, girl boss, it's so true that you cannot pour from an empty cup. So let's fill you up. Good Morning Girl Boss is here to fill your cup with a daily dose of morning motivation. So together we can supercharge your efforts to slay the day with clarity, confidence, and courage. Wake up with determination and go to bed with satisfaction by integrating the Good Morning Girl Boss journal into your morning routine. There are 1,440 minutes in one day, boss, which means every day you have 1,440 chances to start, to try again, to move past it, to get over it, to overcome it, and become your best you. Make every minute count. That's all you have to do. So as part of the Good Morning Girl Boss series, it's 31 days of motivation. And what I'm going to do is actually share the message for day 16 routine with you. Essentially, each day you can go in and really, number one, absorb the motivational message for the day, and then number two, as it's in journal style, have an opportunity to reflect on your own vision and your own revelations for that day as well. So on day 16, it says, boss, create what you like. Don't psych yourself out worrying about what you think they're thinking. Sink so deep into you that you can't help but tap into gems from your deepest desires. True passion ignites the kind of fires that keep everything lit. So stay lit. Don't water it down, messing around, trying to figure out what they want or like. Stay true to you. Let that pure light come through. You'll know when it feels just right. So each day, again, is a motivational message as part of the Good Morning Girl Boss series, because for me, I feel as entrepreneurs and as women, it's just so important for us to stay encouraged, stay empowered, and maintain our momentum. So that's one of the publications that I wanted to share today, and you can let me know if I have time to share the other one. But either way, Good Morning Girl Boss is one of my motivational series.
Yes, you have time. Go ahead.
Sure. Okay, wonderful. So I also like to talk and teach around marketing and sales and really offering strategies for entrepreneurs who come online and say, okay, well, I want to do something. I want to build my business. How do I start? How do I move forward? So another one of my self-published publications is Online Marketing Made Easy. And essentially, I share strategies for entrepreneurs who say, I don't know how to get started with marketing. Can you offer some suggestions? So this chapter, it's really short. It's on 3 C's to maximizing your marketing magic. At the end of the day, I really like to share really clear, simple strategies that people can try that are not overly technical and meet them where they are. So in this section, 3 C's to maximizing your marketing magic. Collaborate. Make a list of people you can reach out to for guest post content, speaker requests, interviews, writing projects, and other cross-promotional collaborations you can brainstorm together. One of the hardest parts of marketing online is doing it all on your own. Find smart ways to leverage your connection. You have something valuable for others. What is it? Tap into it. Be confident. Get creative. And have more conversations with like-minded entrepreneurs around collaborations that can be mutually beneficial for all parties involved. C, number 1, collaboration. Number 2, create lists. Online browsers like to be able to quickly consume content presented in the form of easily accessible lists. So start creating lists of resources, apps, tools, books, people, quotes, mistakes, solutions, and more that your target audience needs to be aware of. Share your lists in the form of blog content combined with audio or video to create a larger audience across multiple platforms. Number 2, create lists. Number 3, collect questions. Some of the most popular websites online are built on answering people's questions. Think about Google or WebMD. Every day, millions of people scroll through billions of pages in search of answers. You could be the person they are looking for. Make a list of 3 to 5 frequently asked questions, then start sharing your answers in the form of, again, blog posts, emails, audio, and video. Start with a short list of questions and then build from there. So 3 C's to maximizing your marketing magic: collaborate, create lists, collect questions. So that's an excerpt of one of my other self-published books, Online Marketing Made Easy, for entrepreneurs looking for strategies to grow and increase their visibility online. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are some good tips, really good tips. Are you ready, Miss Denise?
I am ready, and what a honor to be at the end in between with Shana. I hope I'm saying your name correctly, and LaShanda. I've come across
Shana.
your work, Sister Shana. I've come across your work, LaShaunda, Sister, since, oh my goodness, it does seem like it's been like 10 or more years, the communities that you put together. So it was really interesting because as a writer, you have to, whether you are self-published or you're with a traditional publisher, you have to market, and those skills, those business entrepreneurial skills are so important to get the word out about your book. So thank you. I'm glad that I came in where I did. But to introduce myself to those who, it might be your first time hearing about me, my name is Denise Turney, and I came out with my first novel, Portia, in August of 1998. And I've since published 5 books, and I'm actually working on another title right now in a young adult book series. That'll be the first for me. But I'm going to do a reading from my latest book, which is on the market, Love Pour Over Me, and I'm going to start with the beginning. This story is actually, it's a book about a young man. His mother abandoned him when he was 2, and as relationships are complicated, there's a complicated relationship that Raymond, who's the star of Love Pour Over Me, has with his father, Malcolm. Now, his mother left him when he was 2 years old, but his father stayed and raised him. But he has untreated alcoholism. Raymond is academically talented, and he's one of the top middle-distance runners in the United States. And this is at the time when Carl Lewis was a phenom and Edwin Moses, for those who follow track and field. And he meets a group of friends when he goes to college at Pennsylvania. And this is something that I rarely see in novels, but they're men friends, and they stay friends throughout the remainder of their lives. But as it occurs with Raymond's, his complicated and at times abusive childhood, he has a very loving heart, and women love Raymond. Women readers just love him, but he's has scars, and as you read it, you'll see the impact it has on him and his relationship with his soulmate, Brenda, who he meets when he does go to college. But I'm going to start with Chapter 1. It was Friday afternoon, June 15th, 1984. Raymond Clark lay across his bed. An empty bowl of popcorn was on the floor. Snacking did little to ease his excitement. In less than 3 hours, his year-round efforts to prove himself deserving of unwavering acclaim would be validated in front of hundreds of his classmates. Tonight was his high school graduation, the day he had dreamed about for weeks. He knew his grades were high enough to earn him academic honors. Even more than his grades were his athletic achievements. He hadn't been beaten in a track race in 3 years. He won the state half-mile and mile runs for the last 6 years since he was in middle school. People would cheer wildly for him tonight. The television was turned up loud. Carl Lewis threatens to break Bob Beeman's historic long jump record at the Olympic trials in Los Angeles this weekend, an ESPN sportscaster announced. Beeman's record has stood for 16 years. Raymond got so caught up in the mention of the upcoming Olympic Games that he didn't hear the front door open. "Ray!" his father Malcolm shouted as soon as he entered the house. "What?" Raymond leaped off his bed and hurried into the living room. "Dad?" "What? Boy, if you don't get your..." Raymond watched his father wave his hand over the sofa, the place where he'd thrown his sports bag as soon as he got home from graduation practice at school. "Get this sports crap up," Malcolm growled. Silence filled the house. Raymond grabbed his sports bag, carried it into his bedroom, and tossed it across his bed. His father exited the living room and entered the kitchen. Like a dark shadow, frustrations from spending 10 hours working at a drab automobile plant where he drilled leather seats in the one Ford Mustang after another, while his line supervisor stood at his shoulder and barked, "Focus, Malcolm, get your production up," followed him there. It was in the furrow of his brow and in the pinch of his lip. "Ray!" Raymond cursed beneath his breath before he left his bedroom and hurried into the living room. Seconds later, he stood in the kitchen's open doorway. He watched his father toss an envelope on the table. Letter from Baker came in the mail. Something about you getting some awards. When he reached to the center of the kitchen table for a bottle of still fervor. He stopped hiding the alcohol when Raymond turned 5. The alcohol looked like liquid gold. Felt that way to Malcolm, too. "You graduate tonight." Malcolm took a long swig of the whiskey and squinted against the burn. He tried to laugh but only coughed up spleen. "You're probably the only kid in the whole school who got a letter like this. Everybody up at Baker knows nobody cares about you." Latter said they thought I'd want to let all your relatives know you're getting some award so they'd come and support you. Again, Malcolm worked at Laughter, but instead coughed a dry, scratchy cough that went long and raw through his throat. We both know ain't nobody going to be there but me and your sorry ass. Don't mean nothing anyhow. They're just giving these diplomas and awards away nowadays. On his way out of the kitchen, bottle in hand, he shoved the ladder against Raymond's chest. Raymond listened to his father's footsteps go heavy up the back stairs while he stood alone in the kitchen. When the footsteps became a whisper, he looked down at the ladder. It was printed on good stationery, the kind Baker High School only used for special occasions. Didn't matter, though. Raymond took the ladder and ripped it once, twice, 3 times, over and over again, till it was only shreds of paper. Then he walked to the tall kitchen wastebasket next to the gas stove and dropped the bits inside. Ray! He froze. From the sound of his father's voice, he knew he was at the top of the stairs. Give me that ladder so I'll remember to go to your graduation tonight. And that's it. And that's it.
All right. That was deep. Thank you all for your lovely previews of your book. That was great. I've been asking this question since we've been in quarantine. How is quarantine treating you?
Well, I'll start that off. Quarantine has, on one hand, has treated me, from my 9 to 5, it's treated me very well because I haven't had to go to work since March 14th, and I've been able to be at the house chilling. So from that end, it's treated me well, and I've been blessed to not get sick and to not have my paycheck interrupted. But from an author's end, it's been quite the challenge. With my new book coming out, I had already scheduled some signings and events that I was not able to attend, and so it's just been a new, just sort of challenge having to navigate through all of this and having to promote without being able to reach out and touch readers and to go to events that I would normally go to. But it has been kind of nice being able to do a lot of the virtual meetings and things of that nature. I'm still able to interact with readers, but able to do it safely and able to do it from home. So from that end, as an author, it's been more challenging than as an educator, but finding ways to make it work.
Okay. So you had to kind of step out of your promotion box and do different things.
Oh, definitely. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that a lot of people, I've had people tell me that they wasn't promoting right now. Nobody's buying books. And I'm going, okay.
Oh, no, this is actually a great time because people are at home want something to do.
People are at home. They have nothing else to do. They're buying books. Most of the people I know that are promoting are selling books. Now, the ones that aren't promoting, they know you're not going to sell books because they got all these people out here promoting in front of them. So, guess who books they going to get, So, yeah. How you doing, LaShaunda?
It's interesting that because I work at home full time, for me it's kind of on one level, business as usual. I'm always at home, just with my son, being, funny enough, you talked about, March, my son being home from then for the last few months and then doing a lot of homeschooling and remote learning. So that's been different. And you talked about also being in a space where you had all these different things that you were planning to do. I had different events and speaking engagements and things just really just kind of, on one hand, used to being at home, but on the other hand, oh my gosh, all the things that I had planned, places I was supposed to, completely canceled and had to kind of pivot, right? Everybody's pivoting and shifting. But for me, I love the virtual space. So I'm very comfortable working with clients at home and doing content. Funny enough, I love that we're having this conversation today because I was teaching a class on YouTube and video content. And one of my favorite forms of video is just reading my book, like going on video platforms and saying, okay, here's an excerpt of something that I'm doing right now and showing people the book and reading parts of it, similar to us reading from our books today. So for me, it's just about, in some places, pivoting, adjusting to my son being home and, different things that we're hearing and seeing, and just trying to stay prayerful and positive in the midst of all the uncertainty. But at the same time, really just digging into virtual deeper and not letting being at home, because I've never let being at home be a challenge, just really digging into the power of virtual, the power of video, finding ways to continue to connect with my customers and reach new people at the same time too.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I've loved is watching the people who were already virtual and how they just blew up even more because they already understood what they had to do, and so it's been interesting to see the people who fought virtual for so long, and now they have to, they're like, well, how do you do this, and what are you doing? And you hear all these people complaining about the Zoom. They hate Zoom. It's like, you have to do what's best for you and your business. If you have a business, there's a lot of people that lost a lot of money because they had brick and mortar businesses. So, if they had a mailing list, they might have could have, saved a little money, but a lot of people weren't ready to go virtual or do the things that they needed to do to set themselves up. So when this happened, a lot of people had issues because they did not get ready, and so as a person who's been virtual the whole time, I've talked to a lot of people and, helped them change if they wanted to do their events and go virtual, or try to get in touch with their clients virtually versus waiting on them to come into the stores. So it's been really interesting to see how people are handling everything, and the ones who refuse to handle it are having the most issues with it. How you doing, Denise?
It's kind of odd when you say that. I've done virtual and offline pre-COVID. 19, but I know I was starting to do more mailings, postcard mailings to certain media outlets and certain businesses that I knew I could, if I get my book information in front of them, it would gain traction. I will say in-person events that I've attended, like large cultural festivals or book events, that has for me been the fastest way to move high volume when it comes to books, to move more than online. My online sales are up versus what they were prior to the quarantine. And it could be, again, because people are at home more. But being out on the road is still, I move more books when I'm out on the road face-to-face. And you can greet people face-to-face and engage in conversation with them. They can get free excerpts and give away postcards and other things. So that proves, for me, I can move more books in volume at one event more. But I had started working on, like, postcards and mailings before COVID, which was really odd. And so when COVID first came out, everything was on lockdown. So a lot of businesses, nobody was there. They were like a skeleton crew. So I paused that for a while, and then I've picked that back up again. And I've seen some pick up in my book sales from that. But then doing virtual events, and a lot of I don't really like lead other than my off-the-shelf radio show, which has been virtual for online radio for over 15 years. But like LaShaunda, you'll come out with something. I'm like, oh, you know what? Let me do that with LaShaunda, because you are so good about doing those. Not just joining a virtual event. You launch it. You see it through from start to finish. And I've seen you put events together. You're like, hey, I'm putting an event together. I just thought about doing this. And you'll have such an audience in like 1 or 2 weeks. I'm like, wow. You just have so many connections to do that. And who knows going forward, especially they're talking about a second wave, but if the first wave's even over of this COVID-19, and they may go back on lockdown. People like you, I can see you probably won't miss a step. But I do virtual and offline, but I said, you know what, maybe I step up and start maybe launching some events. I've seen another author start to do that, Valerie Coleman, but I might start to do a little bit more of that. It's adjustment, but the lockdown when nobody was in the office was really when I had to get creative. Mm-hmm. But people are starting to go back to work now.
Yeah, people are starting to go back. When I talk to my clients, I always tell them to at least if you can afford a live event, then to do a live event, and then do a virtual, because everybody can't travel to a live event, and sometimes people can't afford it. So when you include those readers, then they feel special too. Like, okay, hey, she having an event just for us. We can't come, but we can still do things. And I've decided that my niche was going to be virtual because I know how it felt. I had 2 little kids, and I couldn't go to any of the author stuff. And I used to be like, I want to meet the authors. I want them to come, And so I was like, I'm going to do these virtual events. And people try to make me have live ones, and I'm like, nope, that's not my audience. My audience is online. If I stop doing my online stuff, then what will they have? And so I could try to do something different. It's hard to pull the writers over into that arena because they're so used to doing live things. When I decided to do the book brag, they had a hard time. I'm not getting in front of the camera. I'm not doing that, LaShaunda. I got to put makeup on. Do you know that quarantine hair? And so it was a lot, And so it's easy to put stuff together. It's just hard to get people to participate. And that has always been an issue with writers because they stay on the fence so long, and then by the time they figure out, everybody's doing it, they moved on to something new, and they got to go learn that new thing. We as writers, we caught up in staying in our little cubbies, but you have to come out. I know writers that don't go to live events, so I'm like, how are you meeting me?
Oh. Yeah, I was about to say, no.
There's a lot of them that don't, and they'll tell you, I'm not. Some of them don't need to because they're not people, but I, as a person who is who has her own books, I agree with Denise that you do have to go. You sell more in person. You do. I can say that I sell more books once they're like, I don't need that, and then they'll come back later on, like, let me get a copy of that.
Oh yeah. Because if I'm in front of you, I can talk you into buying the book.
Mm-hmm. And that's if you know what to do, what to say, you can sell books. When you don't sell any books, when I don't sell any books, usually it's not my audience. And then I was like, okay, I didn't look at that real well. I should have seen that was not. Most of the times I have that issue when I'm doing something. If I'm doing a conference and there's writers there, they're not getting up off their table because they try to sell their books. So unless I get up and go to them, I'm not going to sell any books, And I learned that. I'm like, you got to get up and go talk to them. They not coming to you, And so, but you have to know that. When people tell me I didn't sell anything at the place, I'm like, what are you doing? What did you say? Who are you talking to? Did you get up from your table? Because you can't sit at your table and see somebody go come and buy books. It don't work that way. People buy from people they know. So if you don't know anybody in the room, you got to make it your business to start knowing people because that's who they're going to come buy from. They go, hey, I remember you, and they'll come and talk to you, But now
it's uncomfortable starting out doing that, but
I know. I'm
part of it. It's part of the process.
It's really hard because I am a promoter. I have promoted for 20 years, and when I published my book, I was like, ooh, now I see what they mean. I had to open my mouth and talk to people. I could talk about everybody named Mama's book, but when it was mine, I was like, oh, I got really. They like, LaShaunda, you shy? I'm like, I did not know I was shy until I had this book. And so I have sympathy for people when they say, I can't do it. I understand, but you gotta. One of my T.L. James told me. She said, you put on a persona, you become somebody else. You be Sasha Fierce, and I was like, oh. Okay, so she's like, be somebody else. So when I go out, I'm Madam Butterfly, and my Madam Butterfly is on. And I get out there, but you have to figure out ways to do this. Now in this COVID thing, I don't see us doing any real live stuff for a while, and it's kind of scary because you don't know what to do. I had somebody say, well, I'm going to wait till November. She said, you think they're going to come? And I said, I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. She's like, would you come? I'm like, no.
Yeah, I mean, because that's fall. So, that's if it's going to be a second wave, that's when it's going to be.
Well, the second wave is coming. They opened it up and they said the numbers went up more. And I'm like, wow. But if you look, nobody's wearing masks. Nobody's being safe. So
I know. It's crazy. And I'm just feeling bad being out with the mask on. I'm like, dog, it's just me.
Look, I told them I'm wearing my mask until they tell me I don't have to. So, and we haven't gone back at our job. Nobody's gone back, and we were talking about it. And I said, my supervisor was telling me that, oh, you don't have to have the mask on the whole time you're in here. And I'm like, well, that's not how y'all rolled it up. So,
Yeah. You know something, Ms. Shonda, that you're talking about the marketing, when you said the butterfly, not only the butterfly, but when I see this, I think of you right away. You always have purple. You all, and you know what, almost like when you think of a major corporation, they put so much thought into their logos and their colors, and they don't deviate off of them. They stick with those colors. Some of them even stick with their colors on their PowerPoints and their pitch books that they share with their prospects and their clients. When I see that purple, I know that, LaShonda, did you set out to do that, to make that purple, to associate that with people whenever they saw that purple and that butterfly? Was that your intent, or did that just something that came about almost organically?
Well, when I decided to do the book, I asked my designer to do a purple book. My mother's favorite color is purple. My favorite color is red.
Oh.
And people always freak out. What? My mother's favorite color is purple. And I wanted to honor my mom, so I did the purple book in her honor. And when I went to my first event, I had done a lot of stuff, and people was like, find a color that when people they see you, they know it's you. And so I said, you know what, I'm gonna wear purple because that's my mom. It feels like my mom is with me when I do events. And so I put my purple on. And I when I started doing that, they really wasn't talking about branding so much. I didn't do it intentionally to brand myself, but that was it. And then I said, you know what, I'm going to use purple online and stuff. Because LaShaunda uses purple, too. She uses a darker purple. I think mine's a little lighter. But I started noticing other people who use purple. I was like, all right, we all royalty out here. Because that's what my mother used to say, purple was royalty. And the butterfly was somebody, we were trying to think of something that would be kind of like a logo. And I was like, one of my friends, she was like, you know what, at first I said starfish because I'm a fish and I was thinking stars. Starfish. And somebody's like, you always like a butterfly. You always out here social butterfly. And I was like, oh, okay, there you go.
Okay.
It just went like that. I didn't plan it. The social butterfly was like that because somebody asked me, was I going to trademark? And I'm like, I don't think I can trademark social butterfly. That's a term, you know. But but when people think of me, that's it. They say they see the purple and they
yes.
see and so when I was working with a graphic artist, and she was doing some stuff for Shades of Romance, and she said everything she sent to me was purple. And I said, what are you doing? I said, Shades of Romance is blue. No, it's not. It's purple because that's what you are. You're purple. So she's like, everything that you do needs to be the same color. And I was like, ugh. But I realized that when you branding yourself, if you got 5,000 colors, people don't understand. And when I did that purple, everybody would say, I know it's you in
yes. That was so smart.
Okay.
So smart. Even if it was like an accident, I mean, that is like really good. Every time I see it, I think of you, by the way.
Yeah, well, that was my mom. Just honoring my mom because people were like, I thought purple was your favorite color. I'm like, no, it's my favorite color now, and I didn't realize I looked good in purple until I put it on. I was like, all right. I was a red girl, but sometimes you fall into it and you have to go with the flow. Sometimes you have no say in what the people want. So the purple stands out. And so I tell my clients, find what you like because, whenever I go out, I wear purple. I wear my purple T-shirts, the engagement shirts, or I wear a purple dress. Because when people could look for me, they know they can find me. Oh, there's LaShaunda. There she is. Now I'm going to be having purple hair, so it's on. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we will come back and have some more conversations with these lovely ladies. I created the Produce, Publish, Promote Summit because I wanted to help writers get their manuscript out of their heads and get those printed books collecting dust out of the closet. Don't let fear continue to stop you. Take the next step and order the Produce, Publish, Promote replays. Inside the Produce, Publish, Promote replay portal, you will have access to 3 days of summit content. You get a chance to learn from some of the best experts in writing books, publishing books, and promoting books. The best part is you pick when you want to watch or listen to the replays. You can purchase the replays as individual topics or purchase the whole summit, where you'll also get access to the 4 previous summits. If you're ready to write a book, publish a book, or promote a book, these replays are for you. Check the show notes for more information. Welcome back to the SORMAG Writers Café. Today's guests are Shana Burton, LaShanda Henry, and Denise Turney. Welcome back, ladies.
All
right, I done lost my questions. Hold on. There we go. All right, so I have a question for you. So what is it, I think all 3 of you are self-published authors, right?
I'm both traditional and self-published.
Okay.
And I'm self-published.
Self-published, yep.
So my question is for the self-published authors. What do you dislike most about no, that's the wrong question. Hold on. Oh, here we go. What would you say are the main advantages and disadvantages of self-publishing?
For me, and having done both, for the traditional publishing, I do like that you have a built-in team, in-house team, with, from your editors to art directors, to having that great distribution. And so, to a large extent, when you have that kind of backing, you don't have to work as hard. It's still hard work, but you have a team behind you. And is, for me as a writer, it was very comforting to have an editor, even though I had to still edit before turning in the manuscripts, but knowing that a second and third set of eyes were going to be on it was a relief. So I do very much appreciate that about being traditionally published. But what I like about self-publishing is the freedom that comes with that. You are able to pinpoint when the book comes out. You're able to write what you want to write. With me having been a Christian fiction writer, there would be things that I could not put in books that I'm able to put in when I publish it myself. So there's that that freedom. And, just being able to control your own destiny, being able to control how many books you put out and how you market and what you want to say, how you want to say it. So it's pros and cons to both. Now, of course, you don't get the distribution in bookstores with those hard copies when you are self-published. But like I said, if you are the type who enjoys being in control of your own fate and career, self-publishing is a good way to go. But if you need that support, then being traditionally published is the way to go. So it's pros and cons for both.
Thank you.
I definitely agree with that because I'm creative. So I do web graphics, I do design, I do layout. I've been doing layout since I was in high school. I was laying out for the school newspaper. So for me, self-publishing was something that just came naturally. It was, if you find that you're somebody who maybe you're not creatively inclined and you need somebody who's going to help you with your graphics for your book or, the editing for the book, the layout and all of these things, having a team it's definitely like a huge weight off. But for me, it was because I know how to do these things for myself, control. And then also for me, it was speed because it was a situation where when I come up with a concept, I can just simply put it together, edit it, get it out there. I don't have any limitations or somebody editing or censoring me. And then also the profit potential as well. You know, when you're doing it on your own, it is an investment, obviously, as far as you putting yourself out there. But online and in the space of print on demand, you know, the investment is definitely different now versus when, if you did the self-publishing route in the past, you would have to invest a lot more money into publishing and printing. But with the print on demand experience, it's a lot different. So over the years, I've had the opportunity to self-publish my own books, my own journals, notebooks, even my own magazine, and just have the freedom and flexibility to do that because of both the creativity that I can do without having to outsource, and also just how print on demand has changed the ability for solopreneurs to do self-publishing without needing to always put in or have a certain amount of investment capital to be able to move forward with that.
Yeah, you know what, and I agree with what they both shared. Pros for me, and then also not just basing it on me, but other authors who have shared their experience, who've also published traditional, and some decided after years of traditional publishing to self-publish. So the pros for me, again, you get to keep a higher percentage of your profits, your revenues. I've heard authors who've gone a traditional route. When they get their royalties, they are so small, it can be almost shocking. And then you can have more control over the returns, whether you're going to accept returns on your books. You also can get out more and not only sell to bookstores on and offline, but you can sell at some more unique places, whether there are shops or if you know some people who own beauty salons or things like that, and you can sell your books through those, or hospital gift shops, things you might not otherwise do or the traditional publisher might not. So it really does, if you have that strong entrepreneurial mindset, it's almost like there's no limit if you self-publish to wherever you introduce your books to. It's pretty much up to you. And you can, once again, if you come up with a marketing concept, whether it's it could be a poster, a book cover, you want to work with somebody to do a jingle for you, and you want to put something out on the radio, you want to do some testing of some marketing, whether it's A and B testing, or you just want to test with a small local radio station to see if you get any traction before you go out broader. You have more flexibility, I think, to do that when you self-publish. A traditional publisher is probably going to have a budget that they give you to market and let you know what they're planning to do. And then you can push on your own, too. But I think self-publish, it really all is on you. So you can be creative, different ways to get your books out in front of readers. You're not set to a schedule. If you're fortunate and you traditional publish and they put money in a book tour so you can go to different cities, a lot of times those are for big name authors. But you could do that yourself if you're self-published and go wherever you want, not just where the traditional publisher is telling you to go. And then again, you get a bigger share of the revenues when you self-publish. But some of the downsides, so those are some of the pros, and there are certainly others. And then some of the cons. You when it comes to marketing, I think whether you go traditional or self-publish, you're going to have to put a lot of time probably in either way you go. But if you self-publish, that is all on you. The publisher is not going to do any of that. You self-edit your book, then you pay for a professional editor to edit it. You go through a traditional publisher, they'll pick up that cost for you. So you're going to have more out-of-pocket expense probably if you as self-published. But if you build your readership, if you build an audience, it may start to really be to your advantage by a long stretch to self-publish. It depends on how big you build your base, your audience, your readership, the people who you keep up your mailing list. They're looking forward as soon as whether you do a monthly or quarterly newsletter, some kind of way you stay in touch with these people. You send them holiday greetings. When your new book comes out, they are ready to jump on it. So that's where self-publishing it is more work, but maybe over time it becomes less, as there you have those readers just waiting to buy your books. But when it comes to marketing, prepare to put in a lot of time, or that, or you're going to have to outsource it and pay somebody to do it for you. So that would be a con for me for self-publishing. Pros and cons.
Thank you. Those were excellent tips. Excellent tips too. And to be honest, a lot of people come in here with their eyes closed, I say, because print on demand, I love it. I think it's the best thing ever. When I first started writing, it was almost like $3,000 just to publish your book, and a lot of people were like, I'm not paying that money, so you're waiting on the big publishers to get you. And then that could be a years and years waiting period, And so with the print on demand, that took that away. Even if you just publish one book, you got one book, versus 1,000 books in your closet. Somebody's like, I want 1,000 books. I'm like, do you know how many 1,000 books are, to put in if you got a garage or somewhere to put them in, because if you're not selling books, guess where them books going to be? In your way. Mm-hmm. So, you have to, that's what I loved about print on demand. I just say, hey, go to Amazon and get the copy. I tell people that during the quarantine, I'm like, you know what? Save me from going to the post office. Just order it. If you got Prime, you get free shipping. Hey, go from there. If you don't mind, no, I don't mind, because I don't have to be lugging 50 books to the post office. So that's the good thing about print on demand. But it takes a lot, and when you come into this market, you need to know what you need to do. Some people think because I published a book that everybody's going to come and buy it, and it doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm. No, it doesn't. That's whether you traditionally publish or self-publish. Yeah.
No, neither one. And I hear that so much with people with the published authors. The publishers, my publisher's going to do this and he's going to do that.
Oh, no, ma'am.
If you don't have it in writing, they're not going to do anything. And they're like, LaShanda, I'm doing all this marketing. I didn't think I was going to do marketing. I said, you do marketing regardless if you're with a publisher or you self-publishing. Who you think will tell the people about your book? So
I do just as much. I do the same amount of promotion with self-published books as I did with the traditional. Now, my publishing company would promote the line, but they didn't promote Shana. Yeah, so you're going to do the same amount of hustling both ways.
Right. And you have to be prepared for that. I see so many people that are disappointed, especially when they get that royalty check.
Oh, good Lord, yes.
They haven't done anything, and it says $250.
Yeah. Now, you do get an advance.
I've seen 3 things on Facebook where the people were saying, is Amazon down? Because I got a check and it said $2. I know people bought my book. And you want to say something so bad. I'm like, oh, you poor baby.
A royalty check will humble you real quick.
What the royalties mean, learn how it works,
Yes,
but I
they will be humble.
Yeah, because people do that with publishers. I know I sold some books. They lying. I'm like, people don't have to lie.
But there's so much built into that. Like, my publishing company will hold so much of the money that's, supposedly in case there are returns. And, but I'm like, this book came out 10 years ago. If you're going to get a return, you would have, they're not still holding on to Suddenly Single to return it, but they will, and that was like my first book in 2007, and I still get royalty statements saying that money is in reserves from that. So it's a lot of little hidden fees.
And you have to know that. A lot of people don't know how the royalties really work. And so I tell people, when you come into this business, learn everything about it so you won't be surprised. You won't get your feelings hurt.
And you know what?
You won't be thinking that somebody's skipping you when they're not.
And another thing about educating yourself is so you don't get overpriced as well. So with print on demand, that is good, and that probably has saved a lot of writers, self-published, a lot of money, because I've heard horror stories of writers who paid like $10,000 for 100 copies of a book, or cause they just didn't know.
Crazy.
And just so to really educate yourself, so you're not taken advantage of when paying a crazy amount of money for a book illustration if you're doing a children's book or somebody's illustrating your book cover, and you understand, your contractual agreements, that those are good. You're right, LaShaunda. The more you're educated, the more you know what to expect, and probably the less you could be taken advantage of.
Yeah, people get taken advantage of so much nowadays, and back in the day they used to have that, but so many people hate Amazon that they get stuck into deals with people because they hate Amazon. They don't want to do print demand, but then you go into somebody that's charging you $500 to get an ISBN number when you own my ISBN number, hold on for $500. But because they're not finding out, they're not asking questions, or when you try to help people, I've tried to help people and they don't want to hear what I have to say because you don't know.
No, you learn to love Amazon.
But it's a bunch of people that refuse to be on Amazon and they're not, and I'm thinking, and you're paying all this money for these books. And somebody was telling me they were paying $12 per book to order their books. I'm like,
good Lord.
What? How much did she sold a book for $30? Who's buying a book for $30? Nobody.
Yes.
Nobody's buying a book for $30. So you can price.
Michelle barely got the 20, and I love her. That Michelle Obama, she barely got my 20. So I know I wouldn't. You just some random is not going to get 30.
It was probably a hardback too. Was it hardback?
Yeah, and it was. Yeah.
Hardback is don't be expensive, but a trade book for $30. No. So you have to be prepared for that. All right, I got one more. I wanted to talk about we were talking about a little bit about advances and stuff. Have you all been following the Twitter conversation about the advances in publishing?
I have not. I'm so horrible with Twitter. I need to do better. And when we had our virtual tea, LaShaunda, you got on me about Twitter, and I need to do better with that.
Well, I don't do a lot of conversation on Twitter, but I go and pay attention. Twitter is like a TV. I go and check out what's going on. And the biggest thing they were talking about this last couple of weeks is about how the white authors are getting. One guy got a $800,000 advance. And he's a new author. This is his first book.
Oh, wow.
Somebody who is, has 2 or 3 books, and theirs is like $15,000. And so they were talking about that. And my question was to you was that, do you think, right now everybody wants black books. They want paper of color books. So I'm wondering if 2021 is going to be an influx of people of color books. Do you think that's going to happen, or do you think they just talking?
I think at this point, especially with the way the publishing industry is going right now, I think it is just talk. But in a way that is good, because if somebody's advancing you $800,000, then they're expecting to make that back, and so when you come up short, then that's a problem. I can't imagine, and I'm not saying he's not getting that, but that's a crazy amount for someone who's unproven. So I can only assume that they're putting a major push behind him with that kind of money, because they are going to want that back. But as far as the future, I think black authors, that's a trending topic right now. I won't feel like it's official. I'll see
6 months down the road, and around Christmas, if it's still this same energy, then I might, I'll feel more comfortable with thinking that it's going to be sustained. But right now, I think it's not a fad, but a trend. And hopefully, it will continue. But if history speaks for itself, it's a trend.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I hate to say that, but that's how I feel.
Yeah.
We had our moment in the 90s, I think it was.
Oh, yes. And
early
2000s, early 2000s were good to us too. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a wonderful time. But I tell people all the time, because I've been here 20 years. It feels to me it feels like we went backwards instead of forward. You would think
definitely
that we would have more people, but we have more people because people are self-publishing. When I started, self-publishing was the stepchild. You didn't do that.
Yeah.
You did. How dare you?
Yes. You turned your nose up at somebody self-published.
Right.
Because that was somebody who wasn't good enough to be, traditionally published. But,
I had a writing
change that mindset.
I always tell the people the story of the man came in, he self-published his book, and he told us that we needed to take the best person in the group and publish their book. Everybody put their money in and published their book, and then whatever we made from that, we published the next book. Now, that was some good advice, but back then we was snooty, and how dare he? We want a publisher. We want to be with a big, and I think it was 10 at that time, Big 10. How dare he? And we did. And when I look back at it 10 years later, I was like, that man was so smart. We were some dingbat,
Yes. Yes.
God. You know what? And it was. And I can think of some people who started out self-publishing and really, really went big. But it's funny, if you didn't want to tell a library or nobody your book was self-published, because if you did, people almost like slapped your hand. It was almost as if your book isn't as good. If it was, if your story was as good, a traditional publisher would have picked you up. But for years, people said black people don't read books, so they didn't publish that many. And I think it was when Terry McMillan really got out and started doing those postcard direct mailings. And Waiting to Exhale took off. That's when people, I think, started taking it more seriously. Because Toni Morrison wasn't selling a lot of books till Oprah Winfrey started really getting her name out there. But I think what may come out of this was people put more focus on African-American authors, especially as it deals with anti-racism. There may be 1 to 3 writers who really go big and that momentum holds. That could come out of it.
Yes. But I think a lot of that will be nonfiction. So I think the fiction authors, unless you're writing on timely topics dealing with racism, like I write about love. So that's so if unless you're writing about these issues, you still might get left in the dust a bit.
I thought about that too, because that's the couple of things that I've been asked to submit. They were like, well, are you talking about racial problems? I'm like, I don't want to talk about that. I live that every day.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
But my characters live in a black world. Everybody black in their world.
Right, So I'm like, that's why I think it's a fad. I don't want to say fad. I think it'll be a trend, and I agree that if you're doing nonfiction or something like that, or you might can grab on hold and get some good advances and stuff like that. But I want to see if somebody could get $800,000 in 2020, then they just been sticking up on the money over there. Because the man that they said, I went and looked him up because I had never heard of him. I can't even tell you who he is, something Chip or something like that. I can't remember. He had a weird name. But I had never heard of him, never read nobody. His book hasn't come out yet. And so I'm wondering, are they going to recoup it? Because right now we're in COVID, so I'm like, they're gonna have to market the heck out of him other ways, because they were saying that this was the worst time for publishers because they weren't able to get out to the bookstores. They can't go to do events and things like that, and so they have to come up with different ways. I've been watching, I think it's I can't think of the name of the company, but they have been doing their own events, literary virtual events and stuff. And I saw one that was for Marlo Thomas and her husband Donahue, and I was like, oh, I would like to hear them talk. And it was $29. You had to buy the book. I was like, well, there you go. That's a good way to look and do it. You're going to sell a book, and people will come, And so I was like, that's a great way to do it. I was like, I'm going to have to tell it to my clients. Hey, can you do an event? Sell a book. You want to come to an event? Okay, you want to do a virtual event with me? I'm selling the books. We'll do it. Get enough time to get your books, and we can talk, And so, hey, the big people doing it, you can do it too,
But I guess essentially that's what we're doing because I've done a lot of virtual book club meetings. So I guess essentially that's what you're doing. You bought my book, and I come and talk to y'all. So, and
I don't know
to an extent, that's what we're doing.
Author in particular on Twitter, but what I will say, just to interject from a technology standpoint, is across different platforms, acting, movies, books, music, key influencers will get huge advances because they already have an established audience. So I would almost more than likely assume that this person has a huge YouTube or Twitter or Facebook or Instagram following where they know they're already going into somebody's platform where they've become a key influencer. So to some degree, the book is going to sell itself because of that. And that's something to think about as well, that, there are different times, different aspects of Black culture, Caribbean culture, African culture. They are, trendy, right? And it comes and it goes in waves. But ultimately, when you become an influencer on a macro level or just on a subset level and you have your own audience, you're always relevant. And that's the thing that I know for myself, leveraging my books, that at the end of the day, if you've created a space where there are people who just love you and what you do, and I think that's one of the pros of being published, that you're always going to have that audience, so to speak. So that key influencer, social media presence, having your own established media and platform, your own fan base, that goes a lot of way in both self-publishing and I think for also traditional publishers who are like, this person has an automatic audience. It's an easy win.
That's really true. That is so true. I looked the dude up. I never heard of him, so I don't know if he has a platform somewhere else. He's saying that he was a debut author, so this was his first book and everything. So I'm hoping he has a platform, because if not, he's going to have a hard time right now trying to sell books, and nobody knows who he is. But I do believe that you do, as an author now, you have to have a platform. You can't think that you're going to write books and everybody's going to buy your books. You have to build your own little mini audience. So you can, every time, I tell my clients, you can't come out here with a book and reinvent the wheel every time you come out. You already want to have a group of people that's ready for that next book. The first book is hard because you don't have an audience, but once you're building that up, so that second book, you should have an audience that's saying, yes, when is this book coming out? Versus, I put my book out, I don't know who's gonna buy it. What? Yeah. You can't, if you're doing this self-publishing thing, you gotta build your audience. Even when you have a publisher, yes, they distributing it to people and they doing it to the audience, but they expect you to have a platform. I've known people, they have to be on 6 or 7 social media things, and they're like, LaShanda, how can I keep up with 6 or 7 social media platforms? I can't do that. And I said, it's scheduling. Scheduling is your friend, because it looks like you on all these things. You pick one that you play on, and then the other ones you just send content to. but, most people think that they got to be on all them platforms. They be like, LaShanda, you on Twitter, you on Instagram, you on this, you on that. And I said, I just look like I'm on that. I'm not on all of them. I play more on Facebook because I get a lot of interaction there, but I'm on all the other platforms because I want to know what's going on in the world, what they doing on Twitter. I might not say nothing on Twitter, but I know what's going on over there. I don't say anything on Instagram, but I'm checking out who the influencers, who and stuff, because you want to be in the know. You can't be not in the know when you're trying to build your platform. You have to be in the know. You have to try different things. You don't want to, go to somebody else's summit. Check out what they're doing at their events. You learn from each other. But if you're just sitting on the couch, you're going to have a hard time because the couch can't buy your books.
Especially in this climate. You have to be innovative.
Right. You got to be ready. You got to be getting out here, being the social butterfly that I'm always talking about. And you can look like a social butterfly and be on Facebook once a day. You can still look like you showcasing your wings everywhere, I have a client, that's what she said. I get up in the morning, I post my little post. You told me to ask a question. I ask my question, then I go on. I said, and she said, and I come back later on, people answered it. Some people might not say anything. She said, but I found out that I get on Facebook and I'll be on there all day and I ain't doing nothing. So I had to limit myself. And you have to find, I tell my clients all the time, find what works for you. I'm on social media because I don't have a life. I'm at home, my kids at home, my husband works nights, so that's my fun. Social media is my fun. A lot of people right now, I got to do a social media break. They're getting on my nerves. Look, I canceled all those people out. So when I get on social media, it's peaceful. I have a good time. I ain't on there fighting with nobody. I ain't arguing with nobody. I kicked all them people off. I don't have to be everything. You get on there and you dealing with cuckoo birds, kick them cuckoo birds off. You choose who is in your
That's what that
block
is for.
Right. Yeah. You choose your circle, and if your circle was, I had one client that told me that her circle was cuckoo. That's how her readers are. They cuckoo, and she ain't got no say over. I said, okay, well, you need to find another place that you can have peace at. Leave those cuckoos alone over there. Send them content that you schedule. All right, ladies, this was fun. I enjoyed it. Thank you so much for being here. Can you tell our listeners how we can get in contact with you online?
Yes, you can contact me on Facebook. I have like 3 different Facebook pages. My personal one is Shana Johnson Burton, and I also have a Shana Burton author page, and I have another one, Kissing and Telling with Shana Burton. That one is that's an invite only, which all of them can kind of be considered that, but that one is where I get really personal with my readers on the Kissing and Telling, and I'm also on Instagram at ShanaB319, and I'm on Twitter at Shana J. Burton, but I just strongly recommend that you don't go to my Twitter. You're going to be very disappointed if you go to my Twitter page right now. And I also have a website, shanaburtonbooks.wixsite.com. But it's much easier to catch me on social media, on Facebook, really.
Hey, it's LaShaunda here again. My brand is underneath Sister Sense. I help entrepreneurs make sense of making money online and really just enjoy teaching and doing all things in relation to supporting others around entrepreneurship. Sister with just the SISTASENSE, sistersense.com. Both my publications and training and all of that, and across social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, YouTube, all of them at Sister Sense. So so long as you can Google Sister Sense, you'll find LaShanda Henry.
And yes, and really enjoyed being here tonight with the all the guests and LaShanda. Thank you so much. I can't thank you enough. I just think you are just absolutely awesome. But you can find me at my website, chisel.com, CHISTELL.com. Again, that's CHISTELL.com. And then if you go there, you'll see on the main page, you can see the Off-the-Shelf Books Talk Radio, the radio show that comes on Saturdays at 11 a.m. You can see all my social media feed, Facebook, and Denise Turney, Twitter, DT Writers, I'm on Instagram, and I'm on LinkedIn as well. And again, I just want to close by saying thank you to the other two guests. I don't want to mess up nobody's name. And I've been a sister since so much, and just amazing what you are doing over there. Really amazing for years, and how you're helping so many entrepreneurs. So thank you, and to the other guests. I loved your reading from your romance novel, and want to know what that big secret is. You definitely got me interested.
They are so messy in that book.
Shonda, thank you. You just are just that purple, amazing lady.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Making me smile over here. I'm blushing and stuff.
But I want to echo that, because you have been such a great supporter of me since the first book, and I think with just about every release you've let me come on and talk about my books and then featured me on SORMAG. So I'm just very thankful for what you have done, not only just for me, but what you do for authors and Black authors, period. Because we don't have, this is a space where I know that we are supported.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I would like to thank our sponsors for this episode, the Produce, Publish, Promote, Summit replays. Check the link in the show notes to order your replays. I want to thank our listeners for taking time to listen to the podcast. I have 3 questions for you. Did you enjoy this episode? If you did, subscribe to the platform you're listening to so you don't miss an episode. What did you think of this episode? Tell us by writing a review. Did you learn something from this episode? If you did, please share the podcast with your community. If you have a topic you want us to discuss in the cafe, or you would like to be a sponsor or even a guest, contact me at warnsormag@gmail.com. One last question. Have you promoted your book or business today? If you haven't, go showcase those wings. Someone needs what you have to offer. This is LaShaunda Hoffman, and I will see you on the next.